Hello everyone, and welcome to your no-nonsense guide on playing the JOBAVA-London. Comes after we go pawn up to d4, black replies pawn to d5, very common. We now play knight to c3 here, and black replies knight to f6. And if you're asking, oh well, what if they do something else? Because they do have a couple of options. The point here is that no matter what they play, you can always go bishop f4. But let's weed out the weakest first. Knight c6 is a very common move among beginners. However, is this a good move or bad move? Bad move because knight b5. A very common theme you will see is the knight and the bishop teaming up on the c7 square. Now here, if black does nothing, then simply knight takes c7 check, they get forked, they have to run their king, you capture, you're already winning. So that is not really much of a concern. Their only real try here is pawn up to e5 to attempt to block out the bishop. However, this is a free pawn, which you are going to capture. You are now attacking their knight. What can they do here? They have two moves, knight e4 and knight h5. Knight e4 is more common, however, it is also bad because queen takes on d5 now. Great sacrifice. Point is, after queen takes back, you can now play knight takes on c7, and they get forked, and after king moves over, you capture, you're up 3 pawns on move 8, and you are basically winning once again. So, their only real try here, knight h5, which not a lot of beginners are going to see attacking your bishop. Best way to play here, simply e3. Just defend your bishop, you're also attacking their knight, and the point here is that after takes and takes back, although your pawn structure is a little odd, I mean, this is a well-defended pawn, and you're still up a pawn here, and after a6, knight can drop back to d4. Let's say we trade here in the center. This is just going great for us. Black can play one attacking move. You just back up. Long castle, keep developing. You're already up a pawn with a great game ahead of you. So knight c6 is among their weakest options. Let's look at a better one. e6 is most common here. How we will play, once again, knight b5 here. Attacking c7, how will they defend? They have two moves here. Bishop d6, trying to block it out, and knight a6, just trying to actually defend. Let's look at knight a6 first. If they play this, you'll now play e3. Simply defending your center, opening up your bishop for future development. They'll now play c6. You'll drop the knight back. And here, if they just play a normal move like bishop d6, you can go ahead, capture that knight. They're forced to capture back, and now their pawn structure is ruined for the rest of the game. So, knight c7, immediately dropping back, is their absolute best try here, at which point, now you will keep developing. Knight to f3. Black can try, bishop d6, also develop. The best move you want to play here, launch your knight into the center. A common idea here, once again. The point is, the knight is always going to be very strong, and you could potentially drop the bishop back and support it with a pawn to f4 as well, at which point you would be doing golden. Here, black most commonly castles. You can now simply keep developing. Let's say bishop d3 here. If they ever try to capture knight in the center, this is just a mistake. And here you can even have pawn takes back, knight must drop back, and then queen h5 here. And now black is going to be having to deal with a big attack on them, which is very annoying and not something they want to be dealing with. c5, trying to break into our center, is their absolute best try here, at which point you will actually capture. Black will take back, and here, best move, simply queen to f3, because black has, other than this knight, basically no defenses on their king side. You can try to start getting your queen in and start some type of a king side attack that can prove to be very brutal. Now, a challenging player here will try pawn up to d4, just trying to break open the center, and here you can now capture, bishop takes back, and no long castles. This is an incredible position. You have so many attacking pieces launched right at their king side, along with your king being very safe and a rook looking directly at their queen. You are doing fantastic in that variation. So, knight to a6, not their best try. Slightly better is bishop d6, and here you're going to capture with your knight. Pawn will take back, and here e3, and we can play in much of the same way. After like knight c6 here, you can keep developing knight to f3. This might be a little more challenging though, because our knight can never come into the center where it usually wants to go. However, we can adapt. After castles, you can play c3 here. Simply solidify your center. This pyramid is basically always a good thing. Let's say rook e8 now. You do have to be a bit careful though. e5 is a threat. If you try bishop d3, then here you're actually just losing. e5, bishop backs up, and e4, and you get forked. So how to prevent this? Simply bishop e2, more modest and no traps that black can play. And here I have the following line. e5, you don't want to capture and ruin your pyramid you have here. You simply want to move your bishop over to g5 here. g3 is also fine, but I like getting this pin here. And after like h6, bishop h4, e4, black tries attacking our pieces, but it's never really going to work out for them because after knight d2, one of the great things about the London is we are always so solid. It is incredibly hard for black to actually break through unless it is very early on. And here, bishop f5, you're going to castle, and black here can get a little crazy. They can try g5, we back the bishop up, and king g7. This is their absolute best try here, and yet you're still doing great. You can now play queen b3, attacking b7, and after like queen d7 here, you can go c4, at which point you're doing well. You're breaking right into black center. The d6 pawn is always a massive weakness. If they ever capture, you can take back with the knight, and I mean, all your pieces are getting in. You're doing fantastic here. You have a great game ahead of you. So e6, while common, is probably not their absolute best variation. Something a little better might be a simple c6. This now prevents our knight from ever getting into b5, at which point you'll go e3 here. Let's say bishop f5, and when the bishop comes out to f5 here, almost always you want to play f3. Point here, you can play e4, attack in the center, and you can attack their bishop as well, which will be great, but also has a second idea of going g4 to attack their bishop. And now h4. This is how you have fun with the London. You are putting the pressure on black immediately. If they do nothing, I mean, h5, their bishop is gone and they have no way of saving it. So how will they try to survive here? They have two moves, h5 and h6. h5 is a little better. The problem with h6 is that it just is not that forcing. And here you can go bishop d3. Simply attack them. They basically are forced to trade, and after queen takes back, let's say bishop d6 here, you have the fun line, knight g2, castles, and long castles. And here, yeah, engine only gives us a little better, but I love this position because what you're going to do here is you're going to go g5, or like h5, g5, you're going to crush their king side open. How does black stop this attack? It is almost impossible from a human perspective. Let's go back here for a moment. h5 is the better try, and here we have to go g5, which kind of shuts down our operations a little bit, but we are going to still be doing well. They will back their knight up, and we can now play knight to h3 here, which looks odd, but the point is we're going to move the bishop back, likely, or trade it, and rotate the knight into the f4 square. This can look something like knight b6 here. We can now play bishop d3. This is always a good trade for us. We're looking directly into their position. Here, how will they play? g6 is not a strong try, trying to fianchetto, because then bishop e5, and yeah, they're getting murdered. Bishop d6 is their only real try here, and you have many great ways to play. You can simply long castle, eventually trade, get your knight into f4. Once again, you have a great position. Black is very tight. Also, if they do nothing here, you can always play a move like g6, and now their king side is going to be messed up for the rest of the game, which is always a nuisance. So, c6, a good try, but likely not their best. Let's look at c5 here. This aggressive moves tries to like attack us immediately, really get on us. They have to be careful here. We're going to play e3. If black plays knight c6 here, this is like lost because knight b5, and here e5 is still the best move, but it is a lot weaker because after like pawn captures, knight is basically forced to back up, and now e6, everybody is getting in and they're basically dead. Their only way to survive here would be like a6, but I mean, you can just back the knight up and they're still getting absolutely mauled here. So instead, their best move is to capture on d4. We'll take back with our e-pawn, and here, now a6. Just preventing any pieces from coming to b5. This is likely one of, if not their strongest try. So how you will play here is you want to go knight to f3, try to get your knight into the e5 outpost as fast as you can. Knight c6, most common now. You launch your knight into the center, and this move actually has an additional idea here, meaning in a lot of variations, you will play pawn to g4. If they just play like a normal move, like, I don't know, e6 here, then after this trade, a simple bishop e2, and you just castle. I mean, you're doing great here. They can go for like one trade, but I mean, yeah, you're doing great. Put your rook on the e1 square, try to attack their king early. You have basically a ton of development, and black has like one stupid knight that nobody cares about. Instead, bishop f5, most common move, and here you have the insanely fun g4. This is how you have fun. Attacking the bishop, and you're getting an insane position here. They have two moves. They can try to back the bishop up, or try to trade in the center right away. If they try to trade, like this, simple move you want to make, just capture their bishop, and here, knight will likely back up. You can now play queen d3. This pawn is never going to be captured by them. Although our pawn structure might be quote-unquote messed up, in pretty much every variation here, we're either going to short castle or long castle. So here, we can just long castle and we have no problems. And this open G file is going to be great for attacks in the future. And here, G6, you long castle. Yeah, you're doing great here. And although position is a little odd, it is very fun. Bishop g2, attack their center. Yeah, you're doing awesome there. Bishop backs up to g6 is their most common try. Now once again, h4 here, going for this move. And the problem they have here is their only real way to prevent this is h5 or h6, at which point you can now capture their bishop. They have to take back with their f pawn, and here they now have an incredibly ugly pawn structure. g5, attack them, they're probably going to have to back up, and you are like completely dominating here. Queen d3, now this guy's going to be captured. Everything in their position is falling right apart, and you are basically winning. Also, d5 is hanging. Also, their entire game sucks. Let's go back here a second. What if they try the immediate a6, just preventing any funny business as fast as possible? You can play in a similar way. Here, you can now play e3. Most people now go e6. If bishop f5, then once again you can go f3 and potentially e4 and g4, h4 ideas are going to be super fun. But here, if they play a simple e6, how you will play, once again g4. Do not let your foot off the gas pedal. This is so fun. And these crazy ideas here, after c5, you're going to go g5 here. And this doesn't make any sense at all. But I mean, the point is, after the knight backs up, this is annoying. They cannot stop this. They're never going to castle long in the black side of London. They have to castle short, but that's going to be a massive attack they're walking right into. You can now play h4, solidify your pawn. Let's now see knight c6. You keep developing. Knight f3. Let's say b5. Black tries to expand on the queen side. Bishop h3 now. You are setting up a load of beautiful tactics. b4. Just back the knight up. This is great for you. a5. While black expands on the queen side, you go on the opposite side here. But while this doesn't really affect like us that much, this is a big problem for them. And here you have the fun move, castles. I love this because although you've gone for whatever is going on here, your king is safe. And I mean, black cannot really attack you. Let's look at bishop a6 now. You can now go rook e1, bishop e7, and bishop g3. You're going to now move your knight to the very strong f4 square. A potential sacrifice on e6 is brewing. A lot of the time it will be brutal. Like if they play queen b6 here, then already you can sacrifice, pawn takes, and bishop takes here, and they are getting forked, and they're already down 2 pawns, and I mean, your game is completely golden. Most people are simply going to capture on d4. Just go ahead and take back. There are so many fun attacking ideas. Now your rook also comes into the party. You can see with this wacky tacky idea, you are doing awesome. Now, let's look at one more variation before I let you go, that being bishop to f5, the immediate move. If they play this, you have a lot of similar ideas. You can go f3 here, and after e6, once again, g4. The killer idea strikes right back. Bishop must go here. Once again, h4, and I mean, you're doing well. If they play like h5 here and try to attack your center right away, then g5, knight backs up, and e3, and from here your game is pretty easy. After like bishop d6 here, you can try knight to h3, just simply defending, and after like knight c6 here, probably bishop d3, just trying to get the trade, capture, you can long castle soon. You're doing awesome, really nothing to complain about there. And if they try the more modest h6, then once again you're doing awesome. You can go e3, bishop d6, once again, knight to h3, keep the bishop defended. If they try to ever capture, it's probably not going to end up well. Your knight in f4 attacks their bishop and is just an absolute monster. And here, if they play bishop back to h7, you even have a killer blow here, g5. And after captures, most likely, not the best move, most people do this, you take back, knight must move, and g6. They are quite literally dead. Capture. Yeah, they are not surviving this calamity. So, knight c6 is a better move, just trying to develop, but here it's the same ideas. That is what is so awesome about the London. Bishop d3, and after the trade here, it's basically the same thing. They can try to capture one more time, simply knight takes back, queen d6, you long castle, you are doing awesome. You have a great game, tons of kingside space, probably g5 and potentially h5 to try and attack them. You are doing magnificent. Thank you all so much for watching. Remember, channel members get to pick future opening videos. I hope you have a great day, subscribe for more, and I will see you next time.